Welcome to the Jess Turner Talk Show. And today we are on another subject today. You know, I was testifying in church this Sunday, and all of a sudden, you know, I just got where, I guess the Lord is just telling us all, we've had a lot of time out there in the world doing our things in the world, and it just came to me that we have to do a little bit more for the Lord now. He have let us do a lot of things, you know, out there, you know, and supplied our health and everything, you know, and He's done so much for us, and it's just, I guess it's telling me it's time to do something for the Lord. And while we was in prayer, I was thinking, are we all on one accord? And I guess it goes back to Acts 2:38, and when Peter was talking to some of the people there, you know, and said, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all on one accord in one place. So I guess that's where I got this thought from. Are we all on one accord, you know? And why I said that, I invited quite a few people to my birthday, and I invited some of the bishops, I invited some of the pastors and deacons and so forth, you know, first ladies and, you know, just sisters from the church, you know. And since I've been in the church, I have noticed, you know, are we serving the Lord the right way? Because somewhere I read in the Bible, it say, and Jesus spoke these words, if you love me, you will love your brother and your sisters also. Now you haven't, he stated, we haven't seen him, but we have seen our brothers and sisters. So how can we say we love Jesus, who we haven't seen, and we don't love our brothers and sisters who we have seen? You see what I'm trying to get? I'm trying to bring that point over. I'm a true believer in the Bible. I know I never got that much, you know, experience in the churches, because I just started going to church a few years ago. Because, see, I was in the world doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing, you know. And all of a sudden, I come in, and my wife, I guess she nagged me so much. But that didn't make me go to church. I just watched how she was carrying herself every day. And just something came to me and said, well, you know what? You should try it. So I found myself coming in from the club one night, and they was on their knees praying in the house. And I walked right over them and went down to my game room, because I have a bar and all that down in my game room. And got me a few drinks and started drinking down there, you know. And I did that often. So finally one day I come in, and they was on their knees praying when I come in, and I found myself listening to them. And then all of a sudden, later on, I found myself on my knees praying with them and reading the Bible and so forth. So here I am today. And the Lord, I know it has to be the Lord speaking to my mind quite a few times now. It's time for us to give Him a little bit of our time. He have donated so much of our time to the world. It's time to donate some of this time to the Lord. And I'm finding myself more into the Bible and learning what I can, because, you know, at my sister's church the other night, we was all talking, and I was hearing so many people in the church talk about this and that and this and that, and how they love the Lord. And I was wondering, now, how can you say you love the Lord if you're doing all of these things out in the world, you know, and that people like me was doing? You can't tell me that you love the Lord and you don't know the Lord. And the only way you're going to know the Lord is pick up the Bible and read the Lord and understand the Lord what he's all about. You see, and like I explained it to them at the church, I said, you know, say for instance, my wife, you know, when I got together with her and we got married, she asked me one day, do you love me? You know, I said, no, I like you. She got a little upset, but the only way you're going to love anything, you're going to have to like it first. Because if you don't like it, you'll never love it. So that's what I'm talking about, the Lord. If you learn about the Lord and get to liking his word, liking what you read about him and the things that he's done, you're going to like him, and then all of a sudden you're going to love the Lord, and then that's when you're going to get saved. So that's why nobody can tell me that you love somebody. Say for instance, you have a cake, a pie, or something, you never tried it, but then you go over and try it. All of a sudden, it tastes pretty good. Then you're going to go back again, or maybe the next week, and you're going to order the same thing, because you're beginning to like it. Okay? But then all of a sudden, for you to fall in love with what you're eating, you're going to have to first like it first. That's the way it is with the Lord. See, the Lord don't put no burdens or nothing on us, you know. Whosoever will, let him come, you know. And that's where, you know, I see it, you know. A lot of people may see it a different way, but I think I make a lot of sense. And I think the Lord give all of us a mind. And it's all up to us to exercise that mind that he give us. He didn't give a person over here a short mind and a person over here a long mind, and give a person like me a medium mind. He give us all the same mind. And it's all up to us how we exercise the mind. You know, I say a lot of things since I've started going to church, and I say, you know, if you're doing right, you will be blessed. You know, I've seen so many people in California, you know, start churches and they fail. Then I was watching another little organization, small organization. They started together, they were doing the right thing. And why I say that? Because I never heard nothing, I never seen nothing wrong, negative that they was doing. And all of a sudden I seen them on Willow Pass Road, starting not a little, but a foundation. And then I seen a lot of the brothers and the sisters getting together, and they was started building. And if you see this place now, it is a massive, big church today. And they didn't have to go in debt with no finance companies and all of this kind of stuff. You know, they come out of their own pocket and come up with it. And I'm going to tell you another thing. The pastor there, my wife was going to his church, and I helped him. His church, you know, needed remodeling, you know, and I helped him start from this little church to a massive big church now called Christ is the Answer. And I had even started attending there often because my wife was there all the time because she's a missionary in the church, you know, and taught Sunday school. So I would go there some Sundays, you know, but I would always offer my hand to help build his church. Also, Elder George Dawn in San Francisco, he was letting some of the homeless come in and stay in his church, you know, at night because it's cold at night in San Francisco. And he didn't know what they was doing. They was drinkers. And by them being down there in the basement of the church, they got cold. And they lit some candles in some kind of way. It started a fire, and they burned the church up, you know. And by my wife knowing him, I took my men over one day. Something just said, why don't you help this pastor out? So I got all of my men together, and we went over, and I told him we would help him out. He said, well, I don't have the money. I said, don't worry about the money. And we started, and I know it had to be the Lord's blessing because I use everything from my bank account, my company's account, and we built that church back up and made it very beautiful, and they are grateful to us today for doing that, you know. And I say this, the Lord, I don't care if you're doing something good for the Lord, I guarantee you, He's gonna shower you back. Because I know the things that I was doing, maybe I wouldn't be standing here today if I wouldn't have had a good heart to do these things. And I didn't do it for recognition. I do it because just something inside of me told me, well, give them a hand. And I did this. So these two churches, Elder Reynolds Church is Christ is the Answer, and also Elder Joy Dawn's church, and also another church I went in and I built a, what you call it, the big altar where the preachers stand up behind the podium and preach. They had this place and it was run down, so I even built that. You know, well, not me, my men did it, because I'm the contractor, and they worked for me and they did it, you know. So, but I found myself just doing so many things, so then my wife said, you know what, there's nothing but the Lord, you know, inside of you for you to be doing these things for these people. Because I didn't do things for money. They couldn't pay me. I wouldn't let them pay me. I wanted to do it from my heart. And I guess I got that all from my dad. My dad grew up here in Texas, you know, and he started the church in St. Marcus, and he had that church built. And he didn't ask not one soul for a nickel to build that church in St. Marcus. And it's still going today, and I go to that church now, because my wife started going there when we first come back. And a lot of people think I'm going there because of my dad had it built. But no, it's not that. It's just the time that I have, and I know I have to give some of my time to the Lord. I've done enough of that out there. And I tell everybody, I had enough recesses, you know, in the world doing what I want to do, everything I want to do. And the Lord blessed me. I never had to want for no money or anything. The Lord supplied my needs. I know I did some of the things a little bit off the wall, well, out of content. Because I would go to City Hall and talk to the inspectors. I know all of the city inspectors in San Francisco. And you turn in a bid to do a job, you know, I wait till the last bid is in, and the inspectors would let me look at some of those bids and see the last one. And I'd bid, if it wasn't but $20 cheaper, I would bid. That was wrong doing that, but see, I was in the world, you know, I wasn't thinking of nothing. See, I wouldn't do anything like that now because, see, I want to do everything the way the Lord want me to do it, you know. But I did those things. The inspector let me look at all of those bids that was in, and I would bid maybe $20 cheaper than the last bid, and I'd get the job. And that's why my men and I we had all the work we could handle. You know, we never had to worry about work when I was in San Francisco as a contractor, because I had all kind of ways scheming with the inspectors, and plus I did a lot of things for them. During Christmas, I would take all of them a big case of alcohol over, you know, and all that kind of stuff, you know, and you know, I do all kind of things, you know. What that is just life. When you're out there doing in the world, you do all kind of things that's not exactly right. But when you come into the realm of the Lord, you don't have to do these things because He will make a way, you know. So I enjoy being in church and doing what said the Lord, you know, because it's not doing what Jess Turner said doing, it's what thus said the Lord. If I get up in church and I testify, and I tell them all, you know, because a lot of people come and say, you know what, you already saved with the Holy Ghost. And I said, no, I'm not yet there yet. I said, but when I get there, you will know it. I said, when I proclaim I'm saved with the Holy Ghost, everybody will know it. Because I don't want to be a show-off And I don't want to be a liar, because somewhere in the Bible says a liar will not tarry in his sight. I don't want to be doing all of these things. I want to get my life right with the Lord, and that's by reading the Bible and understanding what he's really saying to us. See, a lot of preachers come out and they go to preaching and they don't know anything about this Bible. You can't just read this Bible. You got to read and research the Bible. You know, it's just like when I got into movie making. After I got out of construction, I got into movie making. And I tell all of the people that come to audition for movies and be in some of the movies, it's a lot of different in just reading the script and thinking you're an actor. No way. You got to also know how to act it out with your body and with your expression of your face. And you sure are not going to be thinking you're an actor and got the script in front of you or down here trying to read it. Because see, you be an actor, you have to be just like I'm talking to that camera and being on to you all out there in the world. It's a lot of things you have to do. And it's a whole lot of things you have to do to come in here and try to get up and be a preacher, or a missionary, or a teacher, or whatever. See, I'm just talking. I'm not saying I'm no preacher. I'm not saying I'm no missionary or nothing. I just want to get up and say, I'm on a new road for the Lord. To say what thus said the Lord. And when I get around the church people, I see different things. I even told some pastors, I said, you know, because they be talking about this pastor and that pastor and that pastor. And I asked my wife, how can that be? Because see, I remember the time when I was a teenager and my dad was in church as a pastor. And my mom and my sister would come from church and I hear them go say some negative things about somebody. My daddy would get up and he said, you know what? He called my mom, Rosie. Rosie, you shouldn't say nothing about nobody, you know, whether you're in the church or out of the church. And he brought us up, both my brother and my sisters, don't ever say anything about nobody unless you can go to that person and say it to the face. It's not good. And it's sure not good to be talking about people in the church. Because if you want to talk about them, use your mind, and instead of talking about them, pray for them. And I heard a brother in the church in California. He would always say, wasn't there all the time, but every time I went to the church, he would always get up and testify and tell people. His name was Brother Johnny. Johnny Hill was his name. Good friend of mine, because we become friends after I got to know him. But I would hear him all the time say, y'all don't talk about me, pray for me. You see, that's what we should do. And I think we will be a better world today. We cannot go around looking at what's happening out there in the world and trying to correct people when you don't correct your own self. You know, some people come into the church. Now, I've seen this. And I told them Sunday, I said, you know, you can't just jump up and down on a person. Say you got a woman coming in here off the street and she got a mini dress on and she come in here and you get on her. You got to talk to her nice and tell her the ways, you know, because you running away from church. Maybe she want to get her life together. Now, when I came into the church, everybody know what I've done. I've done everything but the right thing. But when I come to the church, you know, don't get on my case. Tell me my wrong points, which I already know my wrong points. I know I was wrong out there into all of the alcohol and drugs and all that kind of stuff. I'm here to tell you, I got tired. And I went down after I run so long. It was just eating me up inside. I didn't know where to turn. The more I drank, the more I boozed up and done all these things. I wasn't satisfied. And I went one day to the San Francisco Police Department on Bryan Street in San Francisco and went in, turned my own self in, and asked, I just want to get my name back. They went to ask me all kind of questions, and I told them. And the one I was talking to, he had to call upstairs and get the chief himself. See, I got somebody down here. I want you to hear what he's saying. Now, I could have took a stretch down to Pelican Bay or St. Quentin or anywhere, because of the things I had done. But the chief came down and listened to me. And I think I heard him on the phone call my wife and say, "We got your husband down here." Say, he's telling us something. Either we are the dumbest police department or you got one of the smartest husbands we ever ran into. Because the things I was doing, see, I studied to do wrong. That's why nobody could never catch me. It wasn't no way you could catch me. Right after that, I talking to Cal State Patrol. He was a captain also. And I'm standing up there with a ballpoint pen in my pocket, talking to him about an hour. And I pulled it out and I give it to him. He thought I was giving him a ballpoint pen. That little old deal on that was the trigger, that little thing. Just push that 22 would blow your face off. He was so, wait, man, where do you get something like this? You know, never mind where I got it from. I'm just giving up all of these tricks that I used to do in the world. Because everywhere I went, I never did go naked. I always had a pistol. But this one here was one that nobody didn't know. I walk in any club and it was in my coat pocket. You would think it's a regular ballpoint pen, but that was a pistol. So all of those tricks and things, you know, I got away from them. And then I started the Elite Golf Association. That's taking kids off of the street. I was talking to different schools and everything about drugs and alcohol and all of this, prostitution and all of this. And I got to be kind of a household name in California. Then I started a talk show, the Jess Turner Talk Show. I didn't even name the show because I didn't even know what to call it. Guy Stark and Ron Carter, they run Time Warner in California. They said, what are you going to call your show? I said, well, I don't know. What are you going to call your production? I didn't know. They said, well, why don't you call your production company Jess Turner Production and call your talk show Jess Turner Talk Show? So that's how it come about. But I wasn't still in church then. Later on, I got into church like I'm getting in now. And then I invited a lot of the church people over to my house. And I don't know why I did it, because I don't know how to entertain no church people. I didn't know how to entertain people like the way I was in the world, what my wife called devil people. But they came to my house, and one man said, you know, you DAM fool, you got all these church people over here, you don't have nothing in your house but alcohol and stuff like that. But I went out and had bought crab and made a gumbo and all of that, crab gumbo and all that kind of stuff, you know. That was the first time. Then the second time, I had a big barbecue pit, always about 9 feet long, about 5 feet wide, you know, in my backyard. I went and got a bunch of ribs and porterhouse steaks and all that, and barbecue for everybody, you know. And the people had such a good time, and I had such a good time. I even brought up a game that I done in church, that I learned in Texas years ago down at Refuge Church of Christ under Bishop J.P. Stedman. And I taught all of them that game, you know, and we had such a good time. And believe it or not, people out there in TV land, that wasn't the last time that I invited church people. I started inviting them all the time there. And that's when I went to get more closer and closer in going to church. Because all of that burden was on me when I was out there doing those things, and I just I couldn't drink enough. I couldn't drug enough. I couldn't do anything enough. It was still worrying me. Yeah, I didn't know who to turn to. And if I wouldn't have went and turned myself in to the San Francisco Police Department, I probably would have been dead now, because I didn't know where to turn to. The more wrong I done, I just felt it. I couldn't, it wasn't nothing out there could satisfy me. And I'm going to tell you the truth, I'm satisfied now by being in church. I'm satisfied now by doing what the Lord wants me to do. By being in church and testifying and telling the young people what it's all about.